Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. Om Glom Swaha. Om Sarvamangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharane Trambake Devi Narayani Namostute. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 7th of September 2025. I want to offer my prostrations, Ananta Koti Dandvat Pranam, Pradikshana Namaskar, and Ananta Pushparpan at the feet of all the great sages, at the feet of Bhagavan, residing in the heart of every single being at all times. We are continuing until the end of this year and maybe longer into now this detailed exposition on that border point between Navdha Bhakti and the 10th Bhakti, Prema Bhakti, non-directional Bhakti, and at the same time the transition from Mumukshu to Mukta. I hope this is very clear. This is the only thing we're going to focus on with some interconnections. So the lower levels, we have already talked about that considerably. All the different deficiencies and doshas and ragdvesh and divisiveness and all that mess, that has no place in this, none. So assuming that is gone, assuming we have gone out of that, even if we have not, if we focus on these ideas about the liberated state, we will reach the state of liberation rather rapidly. Without having to worry about, sequentially trying to break out every single fault. It will all just vanish once we resonate with the divine light itself. Right? So we, meaning all of us online as well as the world population in general. Now, remember the 9 forms of devotion: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyamatma, Nivedanam. We're going to show the border point, the transition point for each of these. We started talking about the Shravan Bhakti yesterday. Just a quick reminder that the Shravan Bhakti means that we're listening, we're using our ears. Listening to what? What is the sadhana? The sadhana, meaning spiritual practice, it is to listen to Shastra, scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Sat Shastra, etc., Ramayana, etc. Listening to great sages' teachings. This is called Shravan Bhakti. Then listening to Bhajan Kirtan. That is the second aspect of that. Also listening to mantras, listening to ideas of great sages, all of that. It is the act of listening. The act of listening is sadhana. Is that to be done on a regular basis? Yes. But it is a sadhana. The mukta state, as we were saying yesterday as a quick reminder, is where every sound, every single sound that we come in contact with is Nada Brahma. It's an extraordinary state of living and functioning in the 3-dimensional world. We are living with this body, we are living in this world. But the sounds that we hear from anybody, in any situation, at any time, when we cross into 10th Bhakti, by Krupa of Shri Radhika Ji, by her grace, by the Krupa of Mahashakti, and Sadguru Krupa, there's a crossing over point. And that crossing over point is where every sound that is heard through the ears is Nada Brahma. Nada Brahma, Brahman, Nada Brahman, we can say, or Nada Brahma. Not Brahma, not the God Brahma. I mean, that is also part of Brahman, but that is not what we're talking about. Nada Brahma. Because how did we get to that? Listening to the great Sat Shastra, the scriptures. Scriptures in Sanskrit are called Shastra. And listening to their ideas, the concepts, teachings, this awakens from within us. It awakens what is called Nad Srushti. If you're taking some of these words down, we're going to be using some technical lingo. Nothing to be afraid of in that. Please ask me about it if it's not clear. There are two kinds of Srishti for ourselves. What is called Bunda Srishti and the other is called Nada Srishti. Bunda Srishti means that the creation of the body through the sperm and the egg, the virya of the male and then the ovum of the female, they come together. That is called Bunda Srishti. Srishti means creation. How did this body get created? It got created through the combination of the sperm cell and the egg, right, inside the womb, and then the Jivatma enters, and then this is how the body is created. This is called Bunda Srishti. Now there's another Srishti. As we continue through this human body, through the mind, senses, etc., we continue to engage in Satsanga. Satsanga is where we are, through our ears, since we're talking about Shravanam, listening to Sat Shastra. Sat Shastra. Sat Shastra means those words, musings, teachings that are in alignment with Param Satyam, with the truth, with the capital T, truth. That is Satyam, Param, Dhimahi. That is in alignment. That is called Sat Shastra. A biology book is not called Sat Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is called Sat Shastra. Vedas are called Sat Shastra. Srimad Bhagavatam is called Sat Shastra. Vachanamrutam, Shikshapatri, Ramayana, etc., Tulsi Ramayana. This is called Sat Shastra because it is aligning the bhakta, the devotee, the mumukshu, the sadhak with Satyam. It is a doorway. So listening to the scriptures with attention, with faith, with bhav, with contemplation, with manana and chintana. Manana means the repetition again and again of the ideas. This is the process that we're describing. And by doing so, there is nididhyasanam, there's a higher level contemplation, and that will bring the truth, that will open the satyam that is in the words inside of us. That opening of the truth that is in the language form into our experiential dimension, that opening process that is called Sat Guru. The Guru is inside and the Satyam opens. This is called Satsang that opens from inside. This is called the Guru that opens from inside. This is called the Sad Vichar that opens from inside. This is called the Sad Bhavna that opens from inside. Bhavna, all the emotions get aligned into Satyam. Hamari jo buddhi hai, that gets realigned into Satyam. Every activity of emotion, thought, memory, feeling, thinking, talking, all activities are retuned to the frequency of Sat Shastra. When all of our manovritti, mansik vritti, as we said, TEMDE, thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. Hopefully you've written that down. This is our inner world. Vedanta classifies this as man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. It's the same thing. And Shakti. It is a retuning. When 100% retuning happens, which is बहुत बड़ी बात, ऐसा पर हम कर सकते हैं. It's not like we cannot do it. We have to recognize that we can do it. Sachin has to recognize. Sachin is not telling anybody anything. I have to see throughout my day, am I tuning my vritti, tuning like a tuning process, to the frequency of the teachings of the great sages, or isme manan chintan, shravan. We're talking about just the shravan process, but as we are listening, there's contemplation, absorption. It's not the quantity of listening. It is the quality of listening which is absorbed inside the antakarana through higher contemplative state. And this is where eventually the 9 forms of bhakti, they intersect with each other. And the bhakta eventually is able to reach that border point of mukta. It is a transition from a bhakta in the sadhana state into a transition into a mukta that is no longer in the sadhana state. The mukta is still a bhakta. Mukta meaning liberated being. Yes. The mukta has reached liberation, meaning that individual is no longer pulled by vasana, ignorance, the internal deficiencies are completely obliterated. That is called a Jivan Mukta. This should be very, very clear what a Jivan Mukta is. And then if this is our goal, the devotees, bhaktas, mumukshus, sadhakas, those who want to be a liberated being out of the entanglements of the life and death cycle, the reincarnation cycle, out of the entanglements of the lower energy, which is the material world. We don't want, if a person realizes that they do not want to be stuck anymore inside the same repetitive patterns, then this Gnan Mudra is there, the Aim Bij Mantra is there, Bhagwan ki Murti hai, or lag jao bhakti mein. Don't waste time. Shravan Bhakti. Right now we're just talking about that. To listen to scriptures, listen to the expositions on the Gita. For example, Sachin is also with a lot of humility and bhav trying to do some expounding on chapter 15. We did 2 recordings so far. We'll be doing hundreds of them by the grace of Bhagwan Krishna. But there's so many commentators, so many people. There's a lot of information, a lot of literature. Fine. It's good. Listen, read. But more important than that is that the truth has to awaken from inside. It's not about how much information Sachin has in his brain. That's fine. If the good amount of information is there, acha hai. Particularly in this role as trying to expound these things, I have to do a lot of study. But that doesn't mean that is realized. Realization ki baat alag hai. You don't have to necessarily have the intense study. If you have it, you can be a scholar and things like that. Acha hai. It's not about the quantity of material. It is the internal absorption and eventually the opening of that into realization. That is all that is really necessary. Then you can absorb more material. It will just add to the amrutam. Amrut grows. Amrut is nectar. It's the nectar. It's called Amrut Dham. It is the moment to moment anandam. Haladini Shakti. Moment to moment, without any break. That is our anubhav. Isko anubhuti kehte hain. Shankaracharya ji uses the language aparoksha anubhuti. Aparoksha means in the present. Because life is only in the present. Our mind is stuck in the past, thinking something will happen in the future. Make it happen now. What is the delay? Body is healthy, mind is functioning well, senses are functioning well. Why delay for even a fraction of a second to enter into the liberated mukta state? Why? Is there any reason to delay? Bhagwan to mukti in Gujarati we say, Bhagwan ane Bhagwan na sant e moksha na data che. The giver of that state of mukta state is God, is Bhagwan or Bhagwan ke bade sant parampara. Santo je ho gaye. They are the bestowers, they bestow liberation. We, as such, by our own self-efforts, we can get to the border of liberation. But we cannot cross the Maya of Paramatma just by our own effort. That's why Bhagavan Krishna Paramatma is very, very clear. He says it absolutely clearly. You have to come to me. Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya duratya mam evayi prapadyante maya metam tarantite. You have to come to me. And this is what we meaning even people on spiritual path throughout the world. To what extent is there taking the shelter of Paramatma? 100%. This is why we listen to Satya Shastra. Satya Shastra, mantra, Bhagwan ke jo mantra hai, Sat, these are all coming from Parampara, fantastic, mantra, stotra, Shastra, mantra, stotra. And of course, Bhajan Kirtan is also in that. All of this combines inside. The bhakta means one who is wanting greater and greater enhanced connection with Bhagavan and is experiencing greater and greater awakening, enlightenment, truth, and most importantly, Ananda. Anubhav ka marg hai. This is Anubhav. It is not intellectual imagination. That has a place, but it's not everything. It is Anubhav. It is a path to walk. Day by day, hour by hour. And eventually, we get on a track straight into Mukti. Jivan Mukti. Eventually, most people are not on that track. Even we have to get on the track. It's like the train that has 100, those carriages, and you've got the engine and you've got the 100 carriages, but they all have to be placed on the track. Then it will go towards the destination. We have to get our senses, our mind, our buddhi, our body, everything on the track. What is this getting on the track towards Mukti? Navdha Bhakti. What is the engine? That is Shakti, Mahashakti. This is the sadhana for today. And I will continue until 9 o'clock, but I just want to mention a couple of things here. What is the sadhana? For those who are wanting to have the grace of God to reach Mukta state. My God, kya anand hai isme? If you and I, we all want to reach that. Get on the track. Don't get off the track. Once you get on the track, that's a big step to align our entire thoughts and memories and feelings and senses and energies and everything, our entire life, align it with the scriptures. That is how Ramakrishna Paramahansa became Ramakrishna Paramahansa. How Vivekananda Swami became Vivekananda Swami. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, well, he's an incarnation according to many, but he also aligned himself. Everybody has to align themselves. We are always praising these great sages. Praising, yes, we need to, obviously. Muktanand Swami, Premanand Swami, Brahmanand Swami. Kitne bade alaukik sant ho gaye. How did they become that? They just became like that? No, they have to align themselves. Everyone has to. Even if they're incarnations of God, they come into this world, they have to align themselves. Bhagwan Krishna has to have Guru. He doesn't have to have Guru, but he has Guru, Sandipani. Everybody has Guru. Bhagwan Ram has Guru. Guru is alignment. There is not a single avatar or great sage who has come inside this world who doesn't have Guru or who doesn't have some great teachers. They don't need them actually, but they are setting the example. Why? To show that we can align through this body into that supreme consciousness. Shankaracharya ji himself, who's considered to be incarnation of Bhagwan Shankar. Unke Guruji kaun the? Govinda Padacharya. Kitna sundar naam hai. And he has bowed down to his guru in the very first verse of Vivek Chudamani, which we were looking at some time back. We will get back to that by divine will in the future. भगवान और भगवान के संत, इनकी स्थिति क्या है? That, to capture that, to absorb, to be 100% attentive कि इनकी स्थिति क्या है, इनका जीवन कैसा है, who are they, how they have lived. Once we get those qualities, sant ke gun, those qualities inside, alignment begins. We get on the track. 9 forms of devotion are getting the train on the track. And once we are on the track, we're ready to go. But see, can you imagine? You put one of those, just use that as an analogy, one of those carts, it's kind of sitting on the track, but it's sitting in the wrong direction horizontally. The wheels are not on the tracks. Can it go? It'll be a mess. There's no way the train can move. To put the 4 wheels on the track, dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti, they have to be on the track. What are those 2 tracks? Track number 1 is the upasana of Paramatma. Track number 2 is tivra mumukshutvam, the desire for liberation. That has, to bring that into 100% focus. Not 99%, 98% is not going to be sufficient for us. That doesn't work. You cannot say that the carriage that is in the I don't know what they're called. I guess they're called I don't know what the name is for that. All those blocks that are attached to the train carriages. I don't know the word actually, but there's the engine. What is it called?
Bogie.
No, but what is it called in English? I don't know what they're called.
In English, bogie is in English.
Is that what that's called? I have no idea. So that's a good. Okay, so they're called bogie. Okay, they're called bogies. So those carriages, right? If they are not 100% on there, they're not on there. Similar, it's like this. Internally, when we decide that I want to master Shravan Bhakti, that mastery of the Shravan Bhakti is getting our ears on the track. It's like, it's an analogy, getting on the track. Think about it this way. Look at the viveka that comes in Shravan, listening. We listen to so much from the sansar. Yes, eventually, everything we hear, it could be anything, that is Nada Brahma. That is the goal. But notice where we are generally. We hear some negative things, whatever, all kinds of rag, dvesh, some music. I'll give you a simple example. We hear some song, some Hindi song as an example. And we hear some movie song. Can we hear that as Nada Brahma? These Bollywood songs and all those things that people, I don't know much about that. But there's so many of them, thousands of them. When we hear that, is it possible to listen to that as Nada Brahma? That is the 10th bhakti. Abhi aisi sthiti hui nahi. We will be drawn inside the vortex of the Rajogun immediately by even just a tune, because we are not internally evolved out of the limitations of Rajas and Tamas. So we hear some small tune, something small, it pops up right away because the internal evolution is not there. So many people have trouble with this because they have not understood absorption. Maybe external garb is maintained. Maybe sadhanas are done. Maybe even tyagashram is there, tyagi. But the internal evolution is still far awaiting. Why? Because of lack of absorption. So now, how do we absorb? It's the absorption inside, resonance, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam. Take any verse, take one verse of the Gita. I've been doing it now by the grace of Bhagwan Krishna. Chapter 15, verse 1. We'll be doing good 25, 30, maybe more hours. Whatever time, it's not a question of timing really. Iska exposition karna. What is the purpose behind it? So it can be absorbed. That is why we need exposition, why we need nirupan, why we need the scriptures and the great ideas. Of course, we need bhajans also. We need to balance our mind. It's not like we can just listen to scriptural talks 15 hours a day. Aisa nahi hota. That would not be advisable also. Listen to it to some extent. Push pause on it. Do other things. Manan chintan karna. Listen less, contemplate more. Some people are masters at only listening and zero contemplation. In Gujarati we say, Katha sambli nakhi. Sambli nakhi. Nakhi means thrown away. It's another strange way of using that language. Sambli nakhi. You heard and thrown it away. In one ear, out the. Some people just like to listen to these 9 days of Bhagavatam. We have done something great because we have. How much is the Bhagavatam inside? Listen, it's great. It's what prasanshaniya baat hai. Listening to Bhagavatam for 9 days or whatever it might be. People do sponsorships and they do rituals and this and that. After those 9 days are done, they're right back to point zero. Kuch absorb hi nahi hua isme. Or whatever it was like some entertainment, some bhajan kirtan, some sponsorship, some social stuff, because we sponsored this, some name, this, that, because in samaj mein acha dikhna hai. Ye sab agnan, ye sab chhod do. This is all, never will realize God that way. Impossible. Not under any circumstance anybody can realize God with those kinds of vritti. Bhagwan aate hi nahi. Doesn't matter million times Bhagavatam suno to bhi. Bhagavatam or Gita or anything. If it is done in that way for some external praise and all that, no. That is a totally off-track vritti. Chodo, wo baat ko hi chodo. We want to be aligned properly. Absorb inside. Completely absorb inside. Small portion, bring it inside. Manan chintan chalta hai. This is the sadhana. Bhagwan ko prarthana kar. To pray with genuine intention and genuine bhav, without deflection, using a japa mala. Whether 1,000 people are around us, 100 people are around us, family is around us, friends are around us, or nobody is around us. There should be no difference in the connection with Paramatma. None. You'll notice the difference. Try it sometime. You'll see how our ego works. Take this mala and take some headphones with you, with your phone. Wireless headphones are easily available. Or even with the wire is okay. And go into a temple when nobody's there. Or maybe just a pujari is sitting on the side doing something. And do your sadhana in front of Bhagwan Krishna. Take a chair, sit there when nobody's there. And start chanting. Make a decision to chant 11 rounds of the mala. Take Krishna mantra, whatever you like to take. How does it work? And you will see something interesting. If one person even comes and stands next to you, the chanting will become even much more solid. Because now somebody is watching me. See the ego. You want to find out what is ego? Try this experiment. You'll find out immediately. You and I, all of us, will find out immediately ahankar kya hai. Go by yourself or in your own home when nobody is there. Nobody's watching you. We're not watching anybody else. There's only Bhagwan, me, and the scripture and mantra. That's all. What is the connection inside? What is the genuineness of the connection? What is the strength of the sadhana? But if other people are around and we have decided to do sadhana, we will then do it even more properly. That is because of ahankar. That is not genuine. There's a problem that now the ahankar is doing sadhana. And that doesn't touch God. See how tricky it is. Some people like to do bhajan kirtan in the group. Group mein karna. With mahima. That these are all the liberated beings. Great souls. Aisa mahima aa jayega. Anand hai. If the other stuff comes, that I'm, playing the tabla, singing the songs, whatever, bhajan, because others are listening to me, how I should, they're judging me, or I should appear good to them. If that is there, the connection with Bhagwan is finished. Even the bhajan is going on. Punyam milta hai. Bhagwan ke saath connection nahi hai wo. Garada Pratham 22 Vachanamrut. Smruti vina gayu na gaya jivu. Maharaj swayam kehte hai. Smruti vina gayu. We are singing. Sachin is singing bhajan, kirtan, all these things with, let's say 10-15 bhajans are sung. But Bhagwan ki smriti nahi hai. Bhagwan ke saath connection nahi hai. Some other things are going on about other people, about about just the dynamics of the music, rather than the bhakti inside. It is as good as not doing any bhajan. That is the difference. This is the second thing about kirtan, and we'll talk about it tomorrow in more detail. The tongue and the heart rejoice in repeating the name of God, in taking the name, Bhagwan ka naam lete hai, bhajan kirtan karte hai, but doing it with what intention, with what smriti and bhav, that is what makes all the difference. Otherwise, it is a disconnection. That is why people don't realize God. There are so many devotees. They sing bhajan, kirtan, manan. They are doing so many things, so many rituals. Ganesh Chaturthi just came, so many people are doing Ganesh worship. But what happens after that time of Ganesh Chaturthi? What happens after that? We dive right back into our old vasanas again. Old mess. Train is not on the track. We have to get on the track. And that means to balance everything in our life. Recognize the people of the world. No, but hardly anybody's on this track. Don't worry about it. Interact with everyone in the right way. Keep a good vision. Find out practically how to deal with it. And at the same time, let people do what they're doing. Don't bother anybody. Get on the track yourself. Bhagwan Swayam, he will take care of it. Yoga Kshema Vaham Vyaham. Once a bhakta decides that I want to reach you, once that decision comes, and once that decision is not disturbed at all, something extraordinary happens. And that extraordinary is that our alignment remain, God will align. Yoga Kshemam Vaham Vyaham. Bhagwan Krishna, he says, I will align your life so you can reach this tattva, you can reach me. He will align it. But that alignment happens for those who want to reach the mukta state. Yes. Kiski himmat hai? It requires courage. Doesn't mean anything negative is going to happen in this. Of course not. Everything positive is going to happen. And the wisdom is going to come to interact with everyone in the relative way, at the relative level. Again, please remember, ye jo Brahma Gnan hai, all this thing that is being expressed, isko kehte hai Brahma Vidya. It is not to be dumped on people's heads. No. It is to be discussed only with the right individuals, if that is their intention, receptivity, and also in a limited amount. Because most people cannot handle this. It is not, there has to be readiness for that. Then this can be discussed. Or if you have a group of people that are on the same path, trying to discuss, trying to evolve into mukta state, bahut sundar baat hai. Baki jo ordinary individuals, karuna, daya, shama, shanti, this is big saints, this is how they interact with the ordinary people. They don't dump their, this extraordinary Brahma Gnan on people's heads. Aisa nahi karna. I have to tell myself this thing, not to do that. Because that will be our ahankar only. It is a wisdom that has to come. When to speak, how much to speak, with whom to speak, what is the context. And at the same time, not to disturb your own track towards God, not to allow the outside situation, people, places, circumstances to deflect our internal vritti, at the same time interacting with them in a liberated way, in their way. Just like a child. If you have a 7-8-year-old child, and if you have a PhD professor in physics, that PhD professor is not going to be talking about, theoretical physics with that 7. He has to play with and then even if he wants to teach him physics, he has to teach him in his way. And not that we have to teach everybody everything. It's not like that. It has to do with two things. Maintaining our own freedom inside towards Paramatma. Point number 1. Point number 2 is to interact with all of those around us by recognizing where they are, who they are. It is a recognition. Some are on spiritual paths. Many are just in Rajogun, Tamogun. Let them be. Don't criticize them. They are not ready. They are still rolling around inside Rajas Tamas. Wish well for them. Sarva bhuta hite rata. Bhagwan Krishna says, do not disturb them. Don't try to explain this to them even. Not unless there is some readiness, some opening has to be there. And then even just little bit of explanation, little bit of conversation with love and without superiority. That is the more difficult part. That I know more than you, I'm more evolved than you. No. Even that person is stuck inside Rajas Tamas. We may have come out of it. There's no sense of superiority. There is only love and affection and sense of unity. See what is needed for Mukta state. The Mukta state doesn't happen just like that. If there's any ahankar that comes, ego that comes on the spiritual path, we will not reach the Mukta state. Mukta sthiti aayegi bhi nahi. Kaise aayegi? That's why Bhagwan Krishna says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. He says, I am existing in all. Samoham, equally existing in everyone. Can we see that? That is a vision, divine vision. Vidya vinay sampanne brahmane gavestin. Shuni cheva shopake cha panditaha samadarshinaha. Samadarshan. To see the same Paramatma in all. Beautiful. Without any superiority. And if situation so permits itself, if Prakriti permits herself, because if the Bhakta is evolved further, it is going to impact those around. Those around automatically at some point will want to have a conversation about spirituality, about higher realization. Something more than rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva, klesh, politics, this, that. ये तो सब trash है. इसमें कचरा का डब्बा है सब. इसमें क्या है? They'll want to say what is outside that trash can by seeing a great bhakta. That is the beginning. इसमें संस्कार होते हैं. Just the presence of a Mahan Bhakta going anywhere liberates those around. Just the presence. Doesn't have to have tilaks and mala and external things and all that. No. Presence. Sthiti ki baat hai. Like a candle that is taken inside a dark room. Pitch dark room. Even this tiniest little candle will provide light. Jyota se jyota jagao. We become that jyot. We are that divya jyot. We meaning our essential nature. Watch out for the ego. Ahankar nahi aana chahiye in the spiritual path. If that comes, it is going to take spiritual ideas, put it inside the ego framework, and funnel energy there, and it is the illusion of Brahma Vidya, Brahma Gnan. Not the real thing. No. We want the real, not the projected illusion. Let's stop here for now. I did promise you we'll stop at 9 o'clock. Do the closing mantras. There's so much to say, and there's so much beautiful contemplation. Aap sabka ashirwad hai. Bhagwan Krishna Paramatma, Radhika ji, all great sages, sab Bhagwan ke avatar, unka sharanagati. At their feet, we are just dust particles at their feet. Who are we? We are just dust particles at their feet. So with that, let's do the closing mantra, and I'll keep it open for some time if there's any comments or questions. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada Om Shrim Rim Shrim Kamale Kamalale Prasida Prasida Om Shrim Rim Shrim Shri Mahalakshme Namaha ओम श्रीं स्वाहा श्रूं स्वाहा क्रीं स्वाहा क्रूं स्वाहा ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे स्वाहा दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचं ग्वां हुं क्लीं जुं सः ज्वालय ज्वालय ज्वल ज्वल प्रज्वल प्रज्वल ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विचे ज्वल हं सं लं क्षं फट् स्वाहा दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा श्री राधा कृष्णार्पणमस्तु ओम ह्रीं स्वाहा।